Back in San Diego, no score as we head to the top of the third inning, and we're joined in the booth now by Brewers general manager David Stearns. And before we get into all this trade talk, we come full circle with you.
We do. This is the the place where I first talked to you guys.
It was such a great memory, right? He had just gotten hired last year, and that was September, and then you flew out here to San Diego, and we introduced you to the world.
And it's been smooth sailing since, right?
I think that's the only time you've ever joined us on the road. So
that is true.
Maybe next year we'll have to keep the theme alive in San Diego.
We'll find a new ballpark.
We got a lot to talk about with David, of course, as we get started for this Brewers third inning. Martin Maldonado will lead off, then Davies, the pitcher, and then to the top and Jonathan VR. First of all, the trade deadline is come and gone. What's your full assessment of how things went? Are you pleased? What kind of pieces are we getting back in return? And let's just start with that and let us know where you stand from the general manager's seat.
First and foremost, I'm really proud of the way our staff has handled the preparation for the trade deadline, really for the entirety of the season and beginning in spring training. And that's really when the process starts, when our scouts start compiling information, and then it obviously accelerates as we get farther into the season and into July, when we start having in-depth conversations with other clubs. But pleased with how things turned out. Obviously, it's always difficult to say goodbye to good players and guys that we like and know. But we're certainly excited to bring in the high level of talent that we were able to bring into the organization over the last couple of weeks, beginning with the Aaron Hill trade.
What are those moments like as you approach the actual deadline, which was 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock in Milwaukee yesterday? Those actual moments when you're on the phone with other general managers. I mean, can you give us a sense of what it's like up there for you and your staff? Any window into that process?
It's an intense period, but also fortunately one where we're pretty well prepared, and we know where our bottom line is on any negotiation. And so we're having conversations. Clearly, as the deadline nears, those conversations accelerate in pace and in some senses urgency. But on both sides, really, with any general manager I've talked to, there's a pretty good degree of calm, and we understand we're each trying to do our jobs to better our organization. You have a lot of respect for the guy on the other side of the phone.
Yeah, you guys didn't get a whole lot of sleep. I know you didn't get a whole lot of sleep. You know, it started like Friday night up into to Monday. But is it just you, or is it the whole team?
No,
all together.
It's the whole group.
Right.
We had 10 or 12 guys who were very in-depth involved in this process throughout the entire week leading up, and it starts with Matt Arnold, our assistant general manager, who did an outstanding job really throughout this entire process and helping me and us get things where they needed to be.
Can you give us a scouting report on some of these guys that we got? Bickford, Brinson, and Ortiz. We got Susac as well.
Little flare is going to fall, and the Brewers pitcher Zach Davies with a base hit, the second hit of the ball game, and a man on with one out. Go ahead, Dave.
And we'll start with Brinson, the center fielder from that we acquired from Texas as part of the Jonathan Lucroy trade. He actually began his Brewer career tonight in Colorado Springs. Was 3 for 3 the last time I checked.
Nice.
in his Colorado Springs debut. So happy to have him on board. And he's an athletic, really high upside, high potential center fielder. Has the chance to be that classic 5-tool player that we always look for. He's a young player and still has a little ways of development to go, but certainly very pleased to have that type of athleticism and upside in our system. Luis Ortiz, a Double-A pitcher we acquired along with Brinson from Texas, a former first-round pick who has really moved very quickly through the Rangers organization. At 20 years old, is already in Double-A. Features 4 quality pitches, including a fastball that can get up to 96, 97 miles an hour. And at only 20 years old, to progress that far in an organization is very impressive. And he's a strike thrower, and if he can really just continue on this pace, we believe he's going to be a very quality major league pitcher. And then looking at the players we acquired for Will Smith, it starts with Phil Bickford, a former first-round pick who has done exactly what you want a first-round pick to do when they enter pro ball. He's performed exceptionally well. He's doing so again this year in a very tough pitcher's environment in the California League, and he'll start his Brewers career in Brevard County for us and probably finish the year there as well. And then Andrew Susac is a former top catching prospect who has already spent some time in the major leagues. He's in Colorado Springs now and really just adds to our organizational catching depth, and a guy we look forward to seeing up here at some point this year.
Visiting with David Stearns, Brewers general manager, coming off a big day yesterday of trading. and back-to-back years now as well. The Doug Melvin regime started the process last year with you when you were in Houston with the Carlos Gomez and Mike Fiers deal. And then David, of course, picked right up, made a number of trades this offseason and acquisitions this offseason. And it is interesting as VR walks first and second now with one out. But it is interesting that back-to-back years the Brewers have been involved with another team in a trade that has been nixed or rescinded. Mets last year, which you with the Astros came up on the right end of that with Gomez, and then of course this year with Jonathan Lucroy. What can you say about deals that don't happen, at least that they become public that they might and then they don't? Are we just getting information too fast before the process runs itself out, or did that surprise you that you weren't able to do the deal with Cleveland with Lucroy?
It surprised us a little bit. We knew it was a possibility. Clearly Jonathan had that right to exercise his veto of a trade, and he chose to do so. We had some conversations previously that gave us the indication that he would consider going to some other markets that were on his no-trade list, but ultimately he decided that Cleveland wasn't the right fit for him, and that's certainly his right. But we were prepared to move on. We knew it was a possibility, and we really were able to jump right back into negotiations with other clubs.
Were you able to put a deadline for that particular club for the Indians, because you knew that if he didn't want to go to Cleveland, as it turned out, you needed some time to get the deal done? How does that work?
Both Cleveland and we realized that we needed to accelerate our negotiations with them. If for whatever reason the trade fell through, Cleveland was going to need to redirect their resources elsewhere, and we were going to need to continue to work through some other conversations. So it was a good process with Cleveland to understand that time was of the essence from both parties, and we were ultimately able to agree on a package that obviously didn't end up going through, but we had a chance to recover.
Now that the non-waiver trade process has come and gone, now that doesn't mean there aren't going to be trades. It becomes a little bit more difficult. How active are the Brewers going to be in that process as well?
August trades are always a little bit tough to predict. There are so many players that go through waivers. Really, every player on a 25-man roster will go through the waiver process at some point during the month of August. Some of them get claimed, some of them don't. Guys who don't get claimed are able to be traded just like you would prior to the trade deadline. Guys who are claimed can only be traded to the team that claims them. So it becomes a little bit more restrictive. It's a little bit more complicated. But every year we do see trades get done during the month of August, and I imagine we'll see those again this year.
So basically, you're not taking off for Tahiti for a couple of weeks.
No, we'll put the Caribbean vacation on hold for a little bit longer.
David Stearns is our guest here in San Diego, and we're talking about all of the trade activity that transpired yesterday. Ryan Braun will bat with 2 outs, runners at first and second, and Braun takes a ball inside. Can you tell us a little bit more, or just give us a little bit of an understanding about the player to be named later from the Rangers? You will get a third player for the 2 you traded away. What's that process going to be like?
We will certainly get a third player, and this is a fairly normal part of a lot of trades that can happen in season, where it just gives us a little bit more time to scout a select grouping of players to see which one fits best in the construct of this trade. So we'll have the remainder of the minor league season to determine who that player is. And we certainly expect that it's going to be another very quality prospect in our organization.
Braun up there trying to drive in a run, give the Brewers the lead here in this third inning as we visit with David Stearns. Now, we saw that Lucroy is in the lineup tonight for the Rangers. Immediately went out. Jeffress is with Texas as well. He's on their active roster. Will Smith will be joining the Phillies, or rather the Giants in Philadelphia, I believe, tomorrow. So these new pieces that come in, specifically Orlando Arcia, you replace very popular, very important Major League players with the future. What do you have to say about Arcia coming and the timing of him coming to the big leagues today?
Yeah. We thought the time was right. With 2 months left in the season, it gives him a chance to get his feet wet at the Major League level. Gives us a representative sample to begin to evaluate him at the Major League level. He's an enormously talented player. He's going to be a a large part of our future. He's also very young, and this is an aggressive place for any person to be at his young age. So it's exciting to be here for his first major league game. We've already seen what his defensive instincts look like, and it's he'll make some more pretty impressive plays at shortstop before his time is out.
It was a good play out at second by Schimpf to get Braun, and that will end the inning. And David, always a pleasure. We appreciate you flying all the way here to visit with us.
Just for you guys.
That was very nice.
Thanks,
Thanks a lot. Great work.
Thanks.
Busy times for the Brewers general manager and his staff, pulling off some terrific trades yesterday, and the Brewers continue to load up their system.